Modern underwear, both male and female, has nothing to do with its origins. For a long time, the purpose of clothing was just to keep warm in the winter, or possibly for camouflage. I guess you can say it wasn't exactly a concept of underwear, it was just wear. But they weren't really covering their private parts with it. That's what the leaves were for. It was about 5000 BC where we see the early evidence of soft linens around the genitals. Historians coined the term loincloth, not only in ancient Egypt, but in Europe as well. Don't be fooled that the material was linen, it was still probably very rough, but at least it was much more ventilated than animal hides. But likely it didn't matter because it seems like they only put them on dead people. Oh wait, yeah, the living would wear them too, you just had to be very rich. Nothing says I got money, baby, like walking around in a giant linen diaper. So as far as I can tell, in antiquity, underwear wasn't necessary because society was clothing optional. Due to feudalism, the Middle Ages saw a boom in wool production. So needless to say that clothing got quite itchy. So people had to put on more layers. The concept of underwear started becoming a little bit more gendered. Men's underwear was for the purpose of comfort, such as stockings. Knights, for example, wore a onesie underneath all that armor. Women's underwear diverged from the concept of comfort and more towards aesthetic, like corsets. For like half a century, women's underwear was just a fetishized torture device. And these things had nothing to do with your genitals. I mean, most of the time they weren't even covered. In the 1600s, it became trendy to wear a leather harness around your groin with a little hole cut out of it and your willy sitting in fabric soaked in medicine. Syphilis was a giant problem. You know, sometimes they use vinegar and I'm pretty sure that dog is thinking it smells so tasty. Pants for men were designed in such a way where it would be loose up until the mid-thigh. They would stuff rags in all the spaces in between to soak up the sweat and that last drop after you go for a winkle. But the rags that would go in there weren't necessarily tailored. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution and the style of like the new modern era when boxer shorts were invented. Here we also touch upon the origins of lingerie for women. The Industrial Revolution saw fashion replace wool with cotton. Much softer, but takes up much more resources to grow. Luckily, we have oil. The jock strap was patented in 1874. It first actually started as an invention for bikers, but then eventually grew into other sports. It's actually in the jock strap where we find the origins for the brief. Following the 1970s free love hippie revolution, marketing became much more sexual. And this is where we first start seeing those classic Calvin Klein ads. And things in the underwear industry were actually pretty stagnant for 20-25 years. The only innovation that was happening in the sector was in marketing. Until, why don't you just Google the differences between cotton and bamboo to see for yourself. If you watch this video, you know I know what I'm talking about. DM me with questions.